I used to live right by the bar, not one of the CSCs, but it had a decent group of Celtic supporters in the area. So for all those midweek Champions League games, and I remember the Carragandi tie. I was there for both legs of that, and I remember like like going back to work. Like would take a 2 hour lunch, go back to work, and I think that was back when I worked at Prudential, and I was probably shouldn't have driven. Like I had the CEO of Prudential coming to my desk, like to say hi. One day he was there. I was like, oh hey, like covering my mouth as a games. Now we got Falkirk this week on Friday. So for I think it's 2:40. Is it 2:45 East Coast? Is it starting time or 3? And so you guys would be 1:45.
Yeah.
Paul and Chris. I mean that's fine. I enjoy that. I think I might like even like say take a half day. Like I'm working at home, so like I'll just set up like Paul said, set up spreadsheets to do and pretty much take a half day. Probably crack open a beer or two.
A lot of companies in Chicago do summer hours, so and on Fridays a lot of people half days. I don't get that, but we work from home on Fridays, so I'll just go in the office in the morning, which is like 10 minutes from the pub, and then at lunchtime just take my laptop over and monitor tickets coming in from there.
Well, it's not normal to have a game on a Friday, but if like past midweek games or any indication, we should have a decent amount, and like you guys plan is to sneak out early. I think a lot of people will kind of do an early happy hour and check out the match. So I'm hoping for a decent crowd. It'll be fun to kind of have an open weekend, and be able to kind of do like a early happy hour on Friday, kind of stay there a little bit later, and
and
then have the weekend free.
Yeah. How about you, Chris? You're going to be doing Cone of Silence, you think?
I mean, that's the way I typically operate for midweek or Champions League or like a Friday even. It all depends on how much work I got. So I mean, if I'm pretty slammed, I usually do a Cone of Silence and then I'll catch it later in the evening. But with it being at 1:45 on Friday, is there a chance I can go turn the TV on? Yeah. So I mean, I might not. It just depends on kind of what my work looks like on the day.